So, Dan, thanks again for coming on. A little bit of a a little bit of a journey getting on there. I saw that you were actually going to come on my stream last week, but you guys had some new announcements, and so then you went on with Jake, and I know that he asked you a lot of the burning questions, and I actually watched the interview. And you know, a lot of the same questions I kind of had, but I wanted to come at it from a different approach. So, first off, thank you again for coming on and agreeing to do this. I know a lot of people in chat thought, hey, this is going to be scripted. It's not scripted. We don't have any script. We don't have anything we're doing. There's no approval, pre-approval. We're just going to talk what we can talk about. And so I wanted to start out by saying, do you remember the first time we met?
Well, we've met a few times. So we've met at, I don't know which one was the first time. It was at TwitchCon or Streamer Bowl.
So the first time I met you, we were at that streamer summit, the one in New York City. And yep. I had no idea who Emmett Shear was, who you were, because I never got on Twitch because I ever watched Twitch before. I just used it as a platform to do my show on. So I was never really in the culture at the time, and then GameStop happened, and we go there, and there was a round table, and they said, we're going to sit down, and you're going to talk with the Twitch executives to be able to ask questions. And so I get in there and I'm sitting there and I feel out of place already because I'm so much older than all the other streamers. And you sit down at the table. And I thought, firstly, I looked and I was like, oh my God, this guy's going to try and sell me drugs. And I was like, okay. And they're like, this is Dan. He's the president. And I was like, oh, okay. Because I wasn't expecting the ponytail because you and Emmett kind of don't have that he's not here anymore, didn't have that traditional executive look. You know what I mean? And I think that's something that I came to kind of respect because you had the ponytail and the hat and he kind of looked like a Discord mod. And I was like, okay, these guys are kind of there. So that was the first time I met you. And then I remember the last time I saw you, we did a round table at TwitchCon and you came to my table and you went around everybody's questions and then you got to me and you go, oh. So that is how for chat who didn't know, that's how I met Dan. And we actually had a good time in Amsterdam talking about a lot of issues as well.
Yeah, and we also got to chat at the partner party.
Exactly.
Chat a fair amount.
Yeah. All right. So now that we got you on, I wanted to ask one more question before we get going into it. And that is, I was Googling to see a little bit of your background. And on your Wikipedia, there's a picture of you with no facial hair and no tattoo.
No tattoo. I don't have.
I'm sorry, not tattoo. Not no ponytail.
Long hair. No long hair.
Yeah. So can I ask you real quick, what was the driving factor for you going from the clean cut to the like the Jimmy Buffett-ish look?
Well, I've actually the goatee. That was a brief period when I didn't have a goatee. So I've had a goatee. I've had facial hair most of my life. In fact, actually, one story, I shaved it off. The morning when I got married, and my wife was like, "What'd you just do?" And I said, "Oh, don't worry. Years from now, everyone says to go ahead and be clean for your wedding." And she was like, "Oh no!" And then I grew it back. But the long hair I didn't have, and the big impetus really was COVID because I've never been one to go to the barber regularly. I'd go every 5 months, so I'd go from short hair to long hair, short hair to long hair. And then COVID hit, and I used that as an excuse to say, well, why don't I see what just going really long hair is like? And
okay,
so.
All right. Well, I just when I Googled it, when I first Googled your Wikipedia, I was like, that's him. I was like, oh my God, he looks like a whole different person. But I respect it. I have the beard now as well. All right. Yeah. So what I did learn from that is that, you started working at NASA. I had no idea that you had worked at NASA, and you actually worked on, was it jet propulsion?
So I worked mostly at NASA Ames. I also was at Jet Propulsion for a summer, but most of my time was at NASA Ames in Northern California, which is one of NASA's research centers. But I worked a lot with the Jet Propulsion Lab.
Okay, jet propulsion.
They're still saying volume here. All
right, I'm going to try and bring up the audio controls again on your end.
If you do it, or I think if you bring up, I'm coming through desktop audio on OBS. See if you can push that up.
I have my desktop audio max on OBS.
Okay, we could also
because you're quiet in my ear too.
Yeah, we also can add some gain there. You want me to talk you through how to do that? Let me try to remember.
Sure.
Desktop audio volume. Let me just see. I think this will, if you, yes. So two different ways to try this. First of all, underneath, do you see where the gearbox is underneath your audio mixer?
Where it says, oh God, Dan, I'm gonna be honest with you. I am so boomer. It's not even funny. Like I have the little gearbox under desktop audio. I see that.
Okay, if you click that gearbox, it should pop up a window that says Advanced Audio Properties.
I'm on the wrong one then. Oh no. Oh no, my chat's gonna make fun of me for months for this. Advanced audio properties. Yeah, I got that one now. Source settings.
Okay, and then you see desktop audio, and you see the gain there, volume. Do you see a box?
Yeah.
Something like minus 57 dB or something like that.
I got everything at 100 right now.
So meaning it goes desktop audio, active, volume at 100. Okay. So now option 2, this is a little more tricky for me because I'm not an expert in this, but I think I can do this. Let me just see. I will be happy with myself if I can do this. Let me just think.
All right. I think a lot of people are saying the audio is actually fine. I think it's just
all right.
It's just that it's a little bit quieter than I guess they're used to, especially because
my
works. Mic is pretty
then
loud. So I'm gonna
keep
turn my
going.
mic down a little bit as well. Okay.
All right. Yeah, that's right. If you turn yours down, then they can turn up their volume.
Yeah. So that's what I just did. All right. So we've got you working at at NASA, and then I saw that you worked at Nextdoor. Now, I don't know. I've never used Nextdoor, but from what I've heard, it is just the Karen app. It is the Facebook for Karens, and it is like the bunch of people that want to be a neighborhood watch. Some people are doing that. Were you part of the original team that developed that?
I came on fairly early, but I was not one of the founders. I came in. We had about 25 engineers when I came in, but it was very early in the process.
Okay, and on your way out though, did you see it like as something that was going to morph into that, or was it,
I think Nextdoor is one of those platforms that I felt like I feel like there's still more potential there than what we were able to, or they have been able to realize. I think the way I describe it is we all live our lives locally. Mm-hmm. And I think that there's a huge need for local connection. I think the result of what's on the app is it's mostly people talking about stuff going on in their neighborhood. And for most people, they don't want to talk about dogs this and dogs pooping and all that stuff in their neighborhood, but they'd love to have more connections along their interests. And I don't think they were ever able to get the type of content that I think, the way I describe it, it'd be great if you had local subreddits. Mm-hmm. So if you think of everything that happens in a subreddit, but now think of all those interests, but try to apply a local graph so that you can find people that live, close to you that also like live music, or also like kayaking, or also like running, or also like whatever it is, or your interests. I think there's a lot of potential there. I don't think it ever got there.
And the ability to have targeted advertising for that.
Yeah. And part of it, I go back to, and I'll age myself, back when I moved to Austin to go to grad school, Usenet was popular then, and I went to Austin, and I would use the Usenet group around Austin. I'd use the Usenet group around Austin to pick up basketball. I'd use the Usenet group. And it was great to find information about local music or local places to play pickup basketball or other things like that. And there's really not a substitute for that on the web today.
I'll date myself.
The closest substitute there is.
I'll date myself as well. I remember the ads for Meet Local Singles, and that was the old scam way on the internet. So all right, so then you move from Nextdoor to Google.
And now you jumped over Google. No. I went from NASA to Google to Nextdoor.
Oh, I jumped over Google. Okay, so you went
from
Google to
You jumped
to
over this little startup called Google.
Okay, all right. Were you part? You weren't part of the startup, were you?
No.
I was going to say, I would expect a better gaming chair if you were. Holy crap, the amount of shares some of those guys got in the beginning.
Yeah, no. I was there after it went public.
And what was your title there? What was your job?
So I did a bunch of stuff. I went into, I started out running a project called Google Book Search. I was an engineering director, but then I I ran what was called search properties, which is basically all their search except for web search. So image search, finance search, book search was one of them. And then I went over and went to YouTube for 2 years where I ran product and engineering. And I was in research for a few years running a machine learning team and a bunch of other stuff. And that's when I went to Nextdoor. So I basically I started their music.
And what year did you leave?
Google Play Music. I left in 2014.
So were you ever involved in YouTube and that side with ads and whatnot?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
So you were part of that. Something that I wish and I hope, and maybe we can touch on, targeted advertising. Something Twitch doesn't have because obviously it's live content and not video format and that algorithm. For example, I tell people all the time, like, I need to really get my YouTube videos up and going, because as a finance streamer, my YouTube will get like a $30 CPM because that's what they're willing to pay because of targeted advertising.
Yeah, so Twitch has targeted advertising too. It's just because the granularity of a video is so much greater, you get a lot more variance. And in fact, the big thing is for YouTube, YouTube is all now auction based for much of its. Really, the way to think of it is whether or not the target, how granular is the targeting, and the degree to which it's auction based. Because on YouTube, it's all auction based and it's granular, so you can target finance, and then the auction drives the price up.
Oh yeah, okay, all right, yeah, and it would make sense too.
Whereas we don't have a ton of finance on Twitch, so if you had a ton of finance on Twitch, you would see something different. But we don't have a ton of finance, so it doesn't make a lot of sense for.
Well, what has Twitch done to change that?
Well, that's a good conversation, actually.
That's something we're going to get into.
Do you want me to jump into my thoughts on that or not?
Yeah, actually, that's a great segue. I was going to have more of a let's BS our way into it, but hell, let's just dive in. Let's just go right in.
So I'll give you my thoughts. In fact, as we talk about finance and not just finance, but in general non-gaming stuff, I think what you do is unusual and very difficult. In general, up there, like talking on your own for a long period of time can be challenging. And the example that I use is if you look at traditional media. So think about traditional media and think about talk formats. Can you come up with any example of a singular host that doesn't have somebody else there to play off of? Okay.
I mean, I have my chat.
No, not yet. I know you have your chat. You interact with audience. But even if you look at Howard Stern has Robin, right? And of course, if you look at it, go back to radio and go back to Click and Clack, right? They talk off each other. Almost every sports call-in show usually has multiple people that can play off of each other. That, in fact, they interact with the audience, but then there's another person. And so guest star for me is one way to make it easier for non-gaming streamers to engage, because they need, what you just said was you go off your chat. And if guest star works really smoothly, then it makes easier for non-gaming streamers to have other people that they interact with, to bring people either up from chat, but also have other, make it easy for you to collaborate with other stock folks. I think what you do, and to be able to maintain that for 2, 3, 4 hours, I don't think a lot of people can do that, to be honest.
It's difficult because, the reason that my show, or whatever you want to call this scuffed thing, is evolving is it's not just about stocks, right? Like, I trade for myself, but I like to talk about money and finance and economics and news and whatever, and also meme and have a fun time. And I thought, maybe I'm bringing it different, because traditional media, like you said, is hosts up on a stage, and they have notes, and they talk, and they have guests. It's a big production, and it's very just you're watching them. And I like the idea of like having that interactive ability to talk about it. And I learned so much from my chat. Like, there's a lot of people out there that just like to cause, whatever, but there's a lot of stuff. Because I always tell people, I'm an idiot with a camera. I know a lot of things about a lot of things, but I'm not an expert in different things, right? Like, you can know a little bit of a lot of things, or you can know a lot about a few things. And there's a lot of people in my community who are experts in real estate or in banking or in interest rates. And I get to feed off them and learn from them as well. And then take that information, and the only, I guess, skill I have is being able to repeat it in a way that makes people understand it or
Now,
at least be
now
entertained.
have you tried bringing any of them up on stage?
No, because most people that watch me are at work, and
Okay.
so they don't want that they're either not wearing pants or they don't want to get roasted by chat because
Right.
my chat is not toxic, but they love to have fun and they will roast the hell out of anybody. So
Yeah.
obviously, I wouldn't want to get on here either. But so all right, so fine. So let me ask you this: now that we talked about it, did you watch? Were you involved in any of the whole GameStop thing?
No, no. I mean, I watched it. I saw the GameStop thing, but I was not involved in any of the whole
I mean,
GameStop
like, were
thing.
you following along with it or anything like that?
I mean, I wouldn't say I was avidly. It wasn't like the thing every day I would check. So I'm like most people in America where, I was certainly aware of it at the time and found it quite intriguing. In fact, now that you're bringing it up, I'm trying to I'm swapping in to RAM all that happened as part of that because it was an interesting time, but I was not like
Well, what I guess
up
I'm
on the
asking
edge
is,
of it.
did you watch my stream those days?
Oh, I did not watch your stream those days. No. Yeah.
Thought so. It's okay. I figured the answer
I
was
was
no because
the
nobody
good
at Twitch knew. The funniest thing is that I had 75,000 people watching me that day, some stock streamer, and I tweeted at Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, the congresswoman, and she agreed to come on my stream, and Twitch was like, "Uh-oh." Like they weren't ready. Like they didn't expect her to come back because last time she'd come on was for the Among Us and the gaming,
right,
like a big
right,
thing
yeah.
for Twitch. All of a sudden, her people reached out to me like, "Yeah, she's gonna come on," and people from Twitch were like, they were emailing the wrong email. They didn't know who I was, and they were like, "Is this guy legit? Is he gonna make us whatever?" So I just didn't know if you guys were involved in that moment. It was just wild
No,
to have that.
no. There are a lot of folks at Twitch, so I'm sure there was someone somewhere that was getting worked up. But the way Twitch is supposed to work is it's just supposed to work when that happens.
Yeah, no, it
It's
worked,
just supposed to work.
and
Yeah.
it was a wild year. I got a mug it for Christmas. It was nice. All right,
Oh,
so I wanted to deep dive straight into a couple things, and I'm gonna lead off with a question that I don't want to be taken by anybody in chat as me being pretentious or being siding on any way. I'm gonna get a lot of heat online because a lot of people want me to ask you specific questions because they have things that they want to know. And I don't really feel like that's what this interview is about. Like I'm going to ask some questions that I want to know the answer to. I'm not going to ask, why was Doc banned or when is Forsen going to beat the Minecraft record? I'm not going to ask any of that. I want to know like the other stuff. So for anybody who's going to be mad about that, get over it. But I do want to ask a question that might be a little bit heated for some people, and I know you have to be careful the way you answer. But has Twitch gotten too comfortable in some ways being at the top?
yeah. I think it's an interesting question. So first of all, I can assure you that life isn't all that comfortable right now for me. I definitely am very active and lots to keep my eye on. I think one thing that I've said is I do think competition can be very healthy for an ecosystem because with competition, it forces everyone to focus on what they're doing. Now, I will say there's been a fair amount of competition in this space over time. It's not like there hasn't been lots of entrants that come in terms of, I was actually at YouTube, starting YouTube Live years ago. So YouTube Live, Facebook, Mixer. So I don't know if the right word is comfortable because I do think there's a ton of passion of people at Twitch. So I wouldn't use the word too comfortable. However, I do think it's fair to say that competition is often good for innovation.
I agree 100%. And the reason I let it be a general question like that is because I wanted to just, look at, it was more of a projection on my side, right? Like I've been on this platform. I had an offer after GameStop to actually go to Facebook Gaming, and I had a pretty decent offer to go there, but I didn't want to go because I just enjoyed being on this platform more because it was just I had first off, and I want to say this before anything else happens. big shout out to my account manager, Anna. She is a goddess. And I don't know how well you deal with her on a daily basis, but big shout out to her. I know a lot of account managers out there go through a lot of crap. I don't know why she still has me on there, but she is amazing, and I am forever thankful. And she's one of the reasons I stayed on Twitch for sure too, but also because I wanted a community. And I say that because that was a time when Mixer was there and Facebook Gaming, and people were like, this is the competition. This is going to be the one to take down Twitch, or to rival Twitch, right? Because Microsoft had the user base to take from with Xbox Live and Microsoft, and Facebook had their big, massive thing. But we saw that you can't just buy your way into streaming, right? Live streaming is all about communities. And YouTube has 2 billion users to take from, but they're still having a hard time. Although they're grabbing more market share, they're having a hard time because it takes a while for the streaming. Streaming and videos are just not the same. And so now you've got this new competitor, Kick, making splashes, but we also know that it's a long process. And Twitch has been in the game so long that it almost sometimes feels like they're looking down and saying, yeah, competition is great, but it's only great if it causes you to make good decisions. And I'm not saying Twitch isn't making good decisions, because that'll wash itself out in the next couple of years, but it doesn't feel like Twitch is making moves that would represent the idea that, oh, we have a competitor. Can you give me an example of something that these competitors have caused Twitch to do that you think has helped them be better?
Well, I think, as I say, the competition is good. What it does, the biggest thing that I think we all need to do is focus on making the product better, right? And so I don't think this decision was driven by it. It causes focus, right, in terms of execution, because you're saying, look, we got to get this right, and that pressure is helpful. I think overall, one of the biggest challenges for those, and you highlight this with finance, I believe that the live streaming space is far smaller than it should be. That if you think of the magic that occurs in community experience by watching live streaming, and you think of the number of people that experience it, the number of people that enjoy and experience live streaming in the broader scale is still small if you compare it to the number of people who sit there and like to scroll through TikTok videos or watch YouTube videos, okay? And I believe the value that you get from live streaming, and I come this from someone who's not a gamer, but who's someone who comes to Twitch and enjoys watching live streaming, even as I'm not a gamer. And I really think that the biggest challenge for all of us is to grow it, because as we grow the market, then that will drive more to all the creators and get more creators into the space. So I think it's still early days for live streaming.
Sure. I mean, and we're seeing the world becoming more secluded. I mean, we've seen that people are, more indoors. You don't see people out like bowling alleys and, skating rinks. Now people play video games online. I mean, in Japan, they actually had to create a cabinet position called the Minister of Loneliness, because people are just at home, but humans by nature are social creatures. So they're finding that live interactive content with communities that are live makes them feel less alone. So I agree it's going to continue to grow. But you were saying that Twitch is doing things to grow the space. What can you give me an example of some things that Twitch is doing to grow their base?
Yeah. So, actually, for me, guest star is one of those features that we still have a lot of work to do to make it better. Okay. But guest star, one of the things that guest star is designed to do is to make it easier for people to come on and start streaming and to collaborate with other streamers. A feature that we're launching, and it was supposed to be launched actually this week, is going to make it easy for me to be streaming and you to be streaming at the same time. So we both could be streaming to our audiences, but we can collaborate. The foundation of discovery on Twitch is collaboration. That's how most people collaborate. And the more we make it easier for creators to collaborate together, the more we make it easier for streamers to spend their time on Twitch.
Yeah, and I'm working on that. I'm starting to try to collab more often. I think I may have spoken with the question. That's more of growth for individual streamers. What is Twitch doing to grow the streaming space? Like their space?
No, I understand, but the foundation of growing the streaming space is growing individual streamers. That, in fact, if we want to grow the individual, so right now there's 7 million people that stream on Twitch each month. Okay, if we want to grow the streaming space, We want to grow that to 14 million.
Mm-hmm.
We want to grow that to 20 million. Okay, because the foundation, the people they're coming for are the streamers. Okay, the more we make discovery easier, the more we make it easier for viewers to find content, the more we keep viewers. That in fact, if the emotion, let's take you for example.
Mm-hmm.
All your audience has an emotional connection to you, correct? Some degree, but they like watching you. Now, I suspect some of your audience, okay, then have a bunch of other people they like on Twitch. Since you're pretty unique, some of your audience may not have a bunch of other people they like on Twitch.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take the person that might really enjoy you, but is not a gamer. Okay, so they don't have a bunch of other stuff they like on Twitch. It's hard to build the habit of coming and watching the stock guy, even though you're great. Okay, it gets much better if they're coming watching the stock guy and 6 other people, because part of the magic of Twitch is I'm a little tired, I'm bored, I just want to hang out. I want to turn it on and know that there will be something there for me. Okay?
Yeah.
If somebody turns it on and you're not there and they don't have 7 other streamers that they have an affinity to, okay, then eventually they stop turning it on. Okay? They don't turn it on as regularly, even though they really like you. In other words, another way to say it is you're not enough to get them into a regular habit of using Twitch 5 or 6 times a day. Okay. They need 5 more of you. They need 10 more of you that they have an affinity to. So the more we can take a streamer that likes you and introduce them to 2 other people, that keeps them on Twitch. Our biggest challenge is not getting people exposed to Twitch. It's keeping them. They like it, but then they just get busy. They have other stuff going on. And so we need to make sure they make more emotional ties with more creators. The reason Twitch is successful is because of the emotional tie that the audience gets with the creator.
Yeah, it makes sense. You were at YouTube. It's kind of like with YouTube, like they put that next up or recommended. They learn what you like to keep you on the platform, right? Like it's the idea there.
But here's the difference. Here's the difference. This is, you know how you talked about community on Twitch. Okay, and one thing I talked about why community is different. In general, and I'll go to TikTok as an extreme over YouTube, because one way to think of this is, so if you go to TikTok, how many creators might you see in a week watching TikTok? 1,000, 1,500, right? Your affinity is with the platform, not any one creator. Okay, one analogy I use is when you're on TikTok, they let you use their stage. Their stage is the feed. You sit in the feed and people swipe by. If a creator you like leaves TikTok, you don't notice that they left TikTok because you've got all these other things, right? Now, let's look in contrast. If you're a Twitch user and you say, how many creators does a regular Twitch user see in a week? The answer might be 15.
Yeah.
Not 1,000, not 1,500, okay? And what happens on these other platforms, and YouTube is an example where YouTube is an amazing platform for VOD, okay? But if you're sitting there watching live, you have all the related videos, right? And if you get a little bored, you might look and click a related video. We all do that when we're watching YouTube, right? You're programmed to always be looking to see what else is interesting, okay?
Absolutely.
And one of the key differences in Twitch is the affinity is not, they love the platform, but the strength of the affinity is much more focused on the creator, okay? If you're going to interact with 8 to 10 to 12 in a week, that's a very strong emotional bond. And that's why community is so much stronger, because the people who watch you keep coming back. You see their names, you recognize their names, right? They recognize each other's names, okay? Because they're watching you consistently as opposed to just passing through.
Yeah,
okay?
And that's something that I actually touched on when I did one of my hold on, let me turn off my my new Twitch alerts. You guys added a new alert thing where you can bypass OBS now. And the thing is, though, is that you can't turn it off through OBS. You have to go through your dashboard to turn off the alerts sound. So I'm going to do that while we're talking. But that's something I actually talked to about a lot of people here when they said, why does Twitch allow their big creators to walk away? And I explained to them, I said, well, think about a few things. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but one of the things is that people aren't going to leave Twitch when their favorite streamer leaves. They may leave Twitch during the time their favorite streamer is streaming on a different platform, but when that streamer's done, they're going to come right back to Twitch to watch the other ones. And the same kind of thing is it's like, and then a lot of those creators, when their contract is done, they come back. So, obviously there's much more nuance to it, but that alludes to your point of it's about staying on the platform. And I think part of it too is that the meta, the memes, the emotes, the same type of culture, the chatters cross that from platform. Like somebody goes to XQC who does his own thing, comes in here and puts an XQCL emote or says juicer. I don't watch Twitch outside of my own stream, but I get it. You know what I mean? Like, I understand it. Or if somebody goes in and says debated, or somebody says, GME to the moon, like everyone kind of gets it. So there's that sense of a small community within a large platform.
Yeah, and one way I think about this, and for those in the audience that work in a space where they're looking for the next promotion or something like that, and that's certainly the case from a finance perspective. When one streamer leaves, that creates more space for other people to fill that space. So in fact, when Ninja moved on, that allowed other streamers to become big. Okay. And in fact, the story of XQC becoming big is sometimes other streamers leave and then he steps into that space. So I think in general, a healthy ecosystem is one with a lot of movement. It's one with a lot of opportunity. And the big thing is for every one of the big streamers, right? Mm-hmm. There are hundreds of thousands and millions of other streamers that are trying to grow their audience. Mm-hmm. And so the magic and the foundation of Twitch is what can we do to help all those streamers? I don't know, where you're at right now, but you're trying to grow your audience, right? Maybe somebody that had been watching a big streamer now falls upon you, and some of the time they were spending over there now goes to the stock guy. Okay. Yeah. And you're like, okay, this is good for me.
That comes with the networking, right? As well. And actually, I'm trying to, not to take a shot at Twitch, but I realize that I'm finite here. I'm a single streamer in a doing a single kind of thing without anybody at the same level. So Twitch doesn't really look at me as a branch to go out and grow. I'm sure one day they would want to, but the finance world's a bit tricky too, because Twitch has to be careful because they don't want to attract people that are going to be selling scams or pumping crypto or this other thing. So I respect it, but I realize if I want to grow, I also need to do it on my own. So I've reached out to people outside the platform. I do appearances on CNBC. I'm interviewing people from the finance world, trying to bring that audience here as well. Because I guarantee you 99.9% of people in the world have no idea that there's finance talk on Twitch.
Yeah. Yeah. And part of our job is to make the product better so it's easier for people like you to succeed on Twitch. Okay. So I was back at YouTube fairly early on. We didn't have a team trying to grow finance at YouTube. It just grew.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it just worked. It used to be, dogs on skateboards and music. Right. And it just worked for everything else. So we need to make it so the product just works for everything else. And that's why I do think one key thing about that is making collaboration easier. Is making it easier for you to have other people, because as you bring somebody else on, I mean, one thing for you to think of is find those smaller people starting out, right? You bring them on your show, okay? The more you get more finance people on Twitch and you become the one that started it, that helps you because then more people come. And one way you do that is bring the smaller finance people up on your show, and the interesting ones, some of your audience will then go and check them out. Okay. And that's one thing that Guest Star can help you do, right? Yeah. You can collaborate with smaller streamers or people that want to find a YouTube streamer that might be somebody does YouTube VOD. What you want to be is you actually want to grow. Right now, you're like the top of the heap of finance at Twitch. You'd much rather a finance at Twitch being 20 times bigger and you having a smaller percentage of it, because your audience then would be 3 times bigger. Right?
Man, are you going to sell me some Avon?
No, I'm going to get you to get more finance.
Just went into a pyramid scheme LMM. I'm like, I'm pumped right now. Like, I want to sign up people and get them to sign up people. And Jesus, no, I get what you're saying, but the problem is the reason I don't want to lend my brand out is that I built my brand on being different than everybody else. I don't sell courses. I don't make promises. I don't do signal services. I don't want that. And my fear is that I'm spending so much time breaking that mold that if I bring someone on who does do that, it reflects on me. And
I agree. Well, no, you don't want to bring anyone on that you don't have an affinity with.
No,
Like
but I'm saying they
if you don't
might
respect
grow
them,
and then turn to the dark side. Now it looks
could be.
bad on me, you know. So I'm
Yeah.
always worried about that, but I'm working on it. That's why I'm doing this big interview series. Again, shout out to Anna. She got me hooked up with Dane Cook. I had the Hut 8 director of investor relations yesterday before she got yoinked by the feds. I got you today. I've got Trisha's birdie. I've got some people from the outside world. Like, I'm working on it. I'm enjoying it. But I don't want to grow too big because I'm going to lose more of my money now. So now we're going to get into the nitty gritty. So I wanted to ask you something. I know you've been dealing with this question over and over again, and I want you to know that I understand a little bit more than most of what's going on with as far as ads. So I know that any company, especially a parent company that purchases another company, wants that company to at least find a path to profitability or stop sucking so much, right? Like, you don't want to just have something you own that just continues to bleed money and doesn't stop, right? And so in the streaming world, sub money isn't it, right? So I'm gonna let my chat know for an example. 6.69 is the number. $6.69 billion. That's how much ad revenue YouTube made in Q3 of last year. In one quarter, YouTube made $6.69 billion. Twitch, according to records publicly available, they made about $2.7 billion total for the year. I think you don't have to answer. I'm just going off of what
I won't comment.
Yeah, from what I saw online. So $2.7 billion is what it says online for Twitch's revenue for the whole year. YouTube, $6.69 billion ad revenue alone one quarter. So that means that we know that ads in this space are where money is made. And I did a number, I broke down, and I know that part of the reason, and this is my tinfoil hat theory, and I'm just going to go off with this. I don't expect you to jump in unless you really want to, but this is just something that kind of got to me, was I know that part of the letter that was sent out that said we are going to stop the 70-30 split for people over 100,000. Part of the reason was because we weren't transparent. It's not fair to other people who don't have it, and we need a path to profitability. But then they turned around and offered 70-30 to other people, which means that we're taking more money, but only up to the 100,000, and over 100,000 back to 50-50 split. And so I thought to myself, I wanted to do the numbers. And so I did the numbers, and I saw that there were about 91 users who had 10,000 subs or more. And at 70-30, some of them had better contracts, but just average 70-30. That means at $5 a sub, Twitch is taking $1.50 a sub. So that would have been $15,000 per user. 100, we'll round up to 100. So 1.5 million, right? So let's just say that per month or whatever, just rounding up. I did the numbers. It was like 0.02% of total revenue that they would be making now by cutting the creator, share. So I thought to myself, that doesn't seem like a path to profitability. It feels like you're kind of like shooting yourself in the foot. Like you're taking away from these top creators who are what bringing you the sub revenue and the money and the content. And you're taking more of their money away as a way of, we're going to take your money away. And I thought, okay, let's think of an NFL team going to their players and say, hey, guys, we're hurting for money this year. Starting next year, we're cutting everybody's contract by 20%. Like, that would be unheard of. So, and I'm going somewhere with this. It's just giving my a catch up for my audience. So then I started looking at it, and I thought to myself, is this a way of basically saying to creators, you're no longer going to get that 20%. We're going to give you 50-50 over 100,000, but you can now make up that revenue by running more ads. And that was something that was there. So now it feels like instead of incentivizing ads, it's kind of like we're going to force your hand. Am I off there?
You missed one important piece of the puzzle that was a really important piece of the puzzle. Okay, is roughly at the same time we initiated what's the ad incentive program. Okay, so previously on ads, our deal was basically the way you would get paid on ads was CPM based. Mm-hmm. Okay, and the basic contract was a 350 CPM on ads. Now, when we initiated that, Lord knows how many years ago, that actually was that was a pretty good rev share of ads in terms of what we were making in ads then. Okay, so that's why way back when they set it at a CPM was to make sure that you got a certain amount. We've done much better in ads now. One of our problems was we were not sharing enough revenue in ads. Mm-hmm. And so one reason why creators didn't like ads was they weren't making that much money in ads. Okay. And one reason was we needed to increase the share of the pie that were going to our creators. So in creating the AIP program, that actually was a program that said, if you run a minimum number of ads, like 3 minutes in an hour, something on that order, you'll get 55% rev share. We moved to a rev share for ads. Okay. And that rev share was meaningfully more money to people than what they previously had been making on ads. So what we did, and our top creators make a lot more of their money from ads. As you get over 100,000, ads become a much more important part of your revenue. Because in general, if it would be good for us to share the actual graph. We have a graph that shows the revenue efficiency of our subscription products by size. So think of it as how much money you make per hour's watch that you get. Okay. And what happens is it peaks and it goes down as you grow. Okay. Meaning as your audience gets bigger and bigger, you don't make as much from subscriptions per person watching, because when you're smaller, there's greater emotional affinity. And those people that are watching you, they sub more, they give more gift subs, they do more proportional to everyone else watching. So the problem we had was ads was an important way to grow the overall revenue base. Twitch primarily is about patronage. The majority of our revenue comes through subscription and patronage. But ads is also an important part of the revenue base. And it's particularly important as you grow your audience and as you get bigger. So the amount of money that we injected into the ecosystem from increasing the ads rev share was actually more than the money from the 100K cap.
But you also, correct me if I don't know if you can correct me if I'm wrong, but don't you also make more money from them running ads than you do from the subs?
No, we balanced it now. So we don't, it previously was set up where like,
well, no, I mean,
we were making more money from ads.
I mean,
we both make more money.
Yeah, but you both make more money. So what basically is saying is that you guys have basically put it on the creator now and said, hey, listen, you can make more money at the cost of your viewing experience, but we also get to make more money by you doing that. And I'm not you, but I'm just saying from the idea of what
we both make money.
Yeah.
The idea is it balanced so that way you make more money in ads, okay, which is going to drive. And the biggest problem was people weren't making enough money in ads, right? Think about how many creators complain about don't run ads on YouTube. Do you run ads on YouTube?
We have on my editor. Well, I don't use my YouTube that much, but yeah, there's a few ads.
Well, of course you run ads because otherwise you wouldn't make any money from YouTube.
I don't make any money anyways. Nobody watches my YouTube, but I know what you're saying.
Okay, but how many YouTube creators dislike the fact that there are ads on YouTube? Very few, because that's how they make their money, right? Mm-hmm. The big thing is creators that are in this, they are trying to earn a living. Okay, ads are one way they earn a living.
Oh no, I'm on board with that, but I think it's a different argument though, because with YouTube, it's not a live experience that gets interrupted for somebody. It pauses and then they come right back to it. Versus, like, for example, you and I were getting into a juicy thing, and I saw a chat go ads because I have it on a roll right there. So I get the argument there, and like I said, I'm a business guy. I get it. I'm just trying to understand, like, where it's at. Like, I'm thinking to myself, okay, as somebody who like, I never ask for subs. I've never asked for a sub I've never asked for a donation once. I know Twitch hates that, but it is what it is. But then I started noticing that, it's like I have to run ads now. And for somebody like me, who's, let's say, a 2,000 viewer streamer who doesn't, and I know I should ask for subs, or, in Twitch's, or not Twitch, but in creators' minds. But like, I have a family of 4. I pay health insurance. I have all this stuff. And it's like, starting this year, boom, 20% more of your revenue's gone. But you can make that up if you run more ads. But you'll have to disrupt the viewer experience, which could cause, less growth. I mean, there's a lot of unknowns there. So for somebody like me, it's like, oh, crap. And I'm going to be anecdotal, but I'm very direct and honest with you. Because of this, I'm actually moving my T3 revenue off platform. Because, I'm still going to get the same ad revenue per se that I'm running it, but my T3 gives access to my morning call, right? Which is just a news thing. I just do news in the morning. I give everybody a rundown of the news. They pay 70 cents a day for it. They're lazy. It's great. But I utilize T3. A T3 on my Twitch now automatically gives access to that in the Discord. But because that's what puts me over 100,000, I'm now going to be moving that option off
Ah,
Twitch in giving it to Discord. They have the same thing now because I'm not getting 70-30 anymore. I'm not going to give up 50% of that because, no offense, I'm doing all the work for that. I'm just utilizing Twitch as a thing, but instead of 30%, they want 50. And so I'm like, well, bye. I'm moving it off and then capping myself at that 100,000. So do
yeah.
you ever worry that that's something that you could hurt yourself with?
All these things are challenges and trade-offs in terms of the balance. There's no, I think, by the way, you using your T3 subs for additional content like this, and I think it works really well in the finance space. You're probably not the norm in that regard as you think about what you do in that space.
Did I just self-report?
No, no, you didn't self-report. No, it's
I'm
interesting.
kidding.
I
I'm
find
allowed
it
to do that.
interesting.
It's a role that is in Discord. Separate platforms, guys. Chill.
Part of it too is
TOS update tomorrow.
each creator is a little different, right? And especially as you start using the tier 3 subs, I do think finance is a different space than some of the other spaces. I can tell you for many of our creators, and you'll see this, the bigger ones talking about it, how much more money they're making because of the increase ads rev share.
Mm-hmm. I'm totally understanding this because part of the thing that I understood, and I actually asked Emmett about this when I first met you guys, was about ad fills, right? Like, Twitch has always had an ad fill problem. So real quick, I was about to whiteboard it, but I don't know if we're ready for that for everybody here. But for those who don't understand what ad fill is, basically there's different ways like YouTube, and Dan can allude to this better, but I'm trying to save him the having to talk about it because I don't want him to overstep it. But from my understanding, you obviously know it better, but something like targeted advertising, right? Like if somebody like a finance company is going to make way more money per user acquired over life than a gaming, right? Because whatever. So they may go to Twitch or YouTube and say, hey, how much would it cost to get in front of 1,000 finance viewers? And they might say $30 per 1,000 viewers. Okay, can you guarantee we're going to get in front of that 1,000 viewers? Well, no. Oh, well, then we're not going to give you $30 per 1,000. Can you at least guarantee we're going to get in front of 1,000 viewers? And Twitch or somebody might say, well, all of our users aren't running ads, so we don't have our ad fill. In other words, the fill up our amount that we're selling. So we can't guarantee we're going to get in front of 1,000, maybe some. Then they're going to, all right, we'll give you $8 instead of that. So you go from 30 to 15 to 8, and therefore Twitch is not making any money. So, or a company's not making any money. So in other words, they want to have more ads served. Therefore, the fill is up, meaning that they can guarantee more views, meaning they can sell that for a higher price, yada, 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 which leads to that revenue. Now, fill in wherever I missed.
I'm going to describe the fill a little bit different, but it's going to the same point, but I'll describe it where I think everyone will get it. The fill rate is the number of times a user actually sees an ad when there's an opportunity to see an ad. Okay, so you'll go ahead and run an ad break. If our fill rate is 100%, then every one of your viewers that is not a subscriber or not part of Twitch Turbo will see an ad. But if we have a 50% fill rate, then that means actually you run a 1 minute ad break, only 50% of the people will see a full 1 minute of ads. Okay, in average, you'll see 30 seconds of ad. That's a 50% fill rate. And if we have a low fill rate, then you make less money as a creator. Because in fact, you make it based, so you feel like every one of your viewers is seeing an ad, but actually everyone is not. And fill rate varies by region. So in fact, in the US, we have a reasonably good fill rate. But when you have a lot of international viewers probably, and your international viewers may have a lower fill rate.
Oh, yeah. My ad, I guarantee my ads are, because I have all the EU people, because it's night for them. So my ad revenue is trash, but that's okay. I still love them. I'll yell at them.
So this is actually an important point. One of the things we've done also is we've gotten much better at increasing the fill rate and also trying to give you inclinations of when we have higher fill rates. So for example, in Q4, everyone makes more money in ads. Why is that? It's because the fill rate goes up because there's a lot more inventory in terms of ads. So increased fill rate means more revenue for the creator. And that was one of the challenges. If the fill rate is low, you're not making much money with ads.
So, and I know that this would be difficult to answer, but it feels like from our side, or at least me as a creator, because I'm not involved with a lot of the Twitch community. Like, I don't mean this in a negative way, but I don't ever feel like a streamer. I kind of feel like a guy who streams, like, you know what I mean? Like, because I'm kind of like in my own little corner. I'm trying to work on networking, but I stay a lot of the drama. I don't get involved in that. I don't get in. I'm just not. I'm a dad. You know, I have a mortgage and a kids. I just have more stuff to do. But from creators I know, they've often felt like their hand is being forced, right? Like, it feels like Twitch is kind of going, you know, hey, we provide the platform, therefore we deserve 50% of the money. And if you want more money, you need to make us more money by running more ads. And I know that may not be the case from Twitch's standpoint, but it feels like that from a creator. It's like, okay, in the beginning you signed contracts or did whatever with people. I don't know the details, I'm guessing, to guarantee ads. That didn't work. So, hey, we need to incentivize them. Here's an incentive program. That's not working. Well, I guess we got to make the next step. We're taking more of your money because we equate it very little in the actual overall revenue. We're taking that, and if you want to make it back, you need to run more ads. It's almost like, hey, listen, we're going to have to do what we got to do to get this ad fill going. And that's kind of what it feels like for creators, where it's kind of like Twitch is getting, that's why I started this with, is Twitch getting comfortable? It feels like Twitch is no longer looking at this from a creator standpoint. Like, this is a creator-built platform. Yes, Twitch provides the platform. Yes, they're here. But that's like saying, hey, I own the building, and you lease the building from me, right? Like a commercial real estate office. I own the building. I provide it. You pay me a monthly lease. I go in one day. I see that you're doing really well in your business. I come in and say, well, guess what? I want some more of your revenue, and I want to up the lease or take some of that revenue. You're like, why? Well, I provide the building. Well, that's what you got the lease for. Well, I provide the building, so go to another building. And that's what it feels like as the creator right now. I
understand. Now, one of the things that, you know, we've been pushing on doing, and a good example is the Partner Plus program. We're trying to expand who we can give 70-30 to. In fact, it's broader now than it was before.
Up to 100,000.
The threshold. Yes. And now part of this is, again, because for the larger creators, we shifted how much they were making, because it wasn't by running more ads. It was because they got a larger share of the pie. Mm-hmm. So part of this is provide a larger share of the pie. And, you know, one of the things with Partner Plus we're doing is moving the threshold. So now a lot more people are getting it than had been before. And we want to keep moving that threshold down, because ultimately, I think it is in our interest to expand the base that can get that benefit.
But they get that 70-30 after they qualify after 3 months, but only up to 100. So 350 subs on average would be at 50-50 split. You're talking what's that? So 250 size. That's 350. So what's that like? So that keeps them under that range. But gifted subs don't equate in that, right?
That's only just to explain that. You could have picked a different threshold and included gifted subs. We didn't, because it creates a lot of fraud problems and other issues, because we have variable pricing of gift subs across the world. They're very cheap in certain regions. And you could create a system where you have third parties trying to create challenges with that fraud.
It just feels like the work wouldn't be worth the revenue, but I don't see the back end data.
The math actually does work where it would be, and it could create lots of problems.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'll take your word for that.
Especially as third parties would come in and try to get them to do it for you.
All right, another question, and I know we're hitting a lot of hard questions, but I feel like I kind of I want to get your answer to questions that myself and other people just been dying to ask, and it's just the way of getting it out there. And by the way, this is not me, you know, kissing up to anybody or bootlicking or anything, because I know I'll get that.
And by the way, you know what I just realized?
Yeah.
I realized I need to get going soon, because I actually hold on, let me look. Let me check the time. There was another meeting that I was supposed to be at 9. Let me check the time. Yes, there's another meeting I'm supposed to be at, Jason.
2 days in a row.
Time has been flying.
All right. Well, it has, and I was actually getting into a lot of 2 days in a row. This has happened to me. I was going to get into a lot of fun stuff, but what I was about to say is I do want to give credit where credit is due. You know how I am. We actually were about to get into some really fun stuff. We didn't get there, but I want to say one thing, and that's that no matter what decisions are made, whether it's Amazon wanting their company that they own to do something and you guys implement it, or your changes, whatever, the fact that you as the CEO are going around onto streams right now and actually being present, being part of the communities, answering the questions it takes balls, because right now Twitch has a PR nightmare. and not compared to somebody who did like YouTube with Adpocalypse, but with what's going on with creators and the whole changes. The last thing any CEO wants to do right now is get in front of their creators and the streamers, but you're doing that, and that takes balls, and I respect that right now. I want you to know that. I respect that, and you've done a lot more to kind of be more involved with the community than the previous CEO did, whether that's because of your personality difference or whatever. So as much as we have questions, and I'd like to touch on this again in the future. Either way, thank you for coming on. It does take balls to do this.
And I'm happy to. By the way, I'm happy to find some more time to talk about the fun stuff.
Yeah, I wanted to like start fun and then hit the heavy and then like get into like talking about.
I do feel bad that for the audience, there's a lot of stuff we could have talked, and I should have been keeping an eye on the time and said, "Oh, let's move on." But there's a group of folks waiting for me right now. Otherwise, so we'll just have to find more time.
It's okay. I got the same thing happened to me yesterday. The person I was interviewing just abruptly left. So thank you for coming on, Dan. Like I said, we'll reschedule this another time and actually have a fun one. I know you also want to ask me some questions, so maybe that'll be the next one. I could finish up, do some Q&A with the chat, and then you could do your thing, and then we'll go on with it. Thank you so much for answering. We didn't get to everything. Right. Maybe we'll do it in the future, but thanks again. I'll catch you soon. Are you going to be at TwitchCon EU?
I am at TwitchCon EU.
I'll bring a yellow vest for you, and then we'll catch up then.
I'll see you at the partner party.
Well, we'll see. I don't know. I used to be a premium partner. I don't know where I'm at now if I'm not banned by tomorrow.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Take care, Jason. Bye-bye.